Welcome to my podcast, Sip and Sala, where we lift the lid, spilling the tea on all things marriage, womanhood, and motherhood. So let's sip some tea and pray we get through another day of this shit.
Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. Welcome back to Sip and Sala. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, thanks for coming back. My name's Aaliyah and this is episode freaking 9. I know you all might be like, sis, you're just speaking into a camera, but I'm telling you, trying to do this, create content, be a wife, be a mom, be the rest of it, it's hard work. Maybe I'm just work shy. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I think it's hard work. Anyway, episode 9. Today's episode is called Complacencies, a Killer. Now, I have racked my brains again and again and again on whether I want to speak about this, purely because when you're vulnerable, right, you can't take it back, you know what I mean? But I think it's important to be completely honest and raw. And I also get so many questions all the time about my marriage. And yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's lovely. And it's lovely that people recognize. However, that I go through the same struggle that you guys do. And I wanted to talk about it because, hmm, let's just start. Let me give you a bit of detailing. Lots of you will probably already know because you might follow me on other channels. But if you don't, I am married to a guy called Farhan. He's Muslim. He's half Somali, quarter Pakistani, quarter Arab. I'm half Jamaican, quarter English, quarter Irish. And yeah, I'm not Muslim. I haven't reverted. I have no intention as of right now to revert. And the biggest thing I think that's like raised alarm bells, or not alarm bells, but sort of is catching people's attention is the fact that he's Muslim and I'm not. And like everyone just celebrates like the fact that we've been able to make it work because of the culture and the religion and the rest of it. But you know what? I'll say it with chest, and I say it to him and I've said it to anybody who's ever asked me. If my marriage fails for any reason, I'm almost 99% sure it wouldn't be the culture, it wouldn't be the religion, the difference in it anyway. My biggest thing is complacency, and I've only found it to grow even bigger the older I've got and the more I've achieved. I'll put achieved in quotation marks because is it achievement or is it a step that I've chosen? Let's dispute it. I don't know. But as I've got older, excuse me, as I've got older and as I've quote unquote achieved a bit more in life and as a family and as a wife, I found myself increasing my levels, my standards, and I'm like, wait, am I the issue or is he the issue? And I'll be honest with you, it's almost like our marriage carries this like every 2 years we go through this like crisis, like, oof, I don't know if we can do this. And lots of you might be like, well, you never guess that, but I'm so different to other people. And when I say that, I'm not trying to create like a diverse statement. I'm really trying to let you all understand and feel exactly what happens behind closed doors in our marriage and in my marriage and in Farhan's marriage. And Farhan's very much like lots of other people. And I'll say lots of other people because I'm a people watcher. And I'm a questioner. If I'm in an opportunity to ask somebody a question and they're happy to answer, I will ask the question. And I find he's very much like the stereotypical husband kind of role. So I'll admit that when I met Farm and we started dating and we got married, it was so chivalrous. And he still is very chivalrous. But also, like, I married him at 19, so think about it. Like, I will never stand here and be like, I was grown enough. I completely went into that marriage, my own choice. It was me who actually kind of pushed it a bit more than anyone else, if anything. It was never like his family or him, or it was me. I didn't want him to go against his religion. For me, because I learnt about the religion whilst we were dating. Oh, no, we shouldn't have been dating, but, it is what it is at this point. And the more I started to understand his religion, the more I started to understand him, and the more I was like, wait a minute, I'm not worth this. And he never said that, but I was like, please don't sin on my behalf. But anyway, he was so chivalrous. And you guys probably already know kind of who I am or a little bit of how I've grown up from the previous episodes so far. But people like me and people I knew have never met people like that. We found it strange. Like, we found it strange that it was like pulling out my chair in the middle of bloody McDonald's or Nando's. You know, like, you do that shit at a nice restaurant because you're with nice people. But if we're in the local chippy, just sit down. But no, he wouldn't. He would pull out the chair, and he would always like put my coat on my back, and like, I'm almost getting emotional thinking about it. And I remember my siblings being like, "What the fuck? Where the fuck you found this guy?" And I never thought anything of it. I just thought he's older. He's from a culture where, it obviously pushes, I don't know, like chivalry or being a gentleman or just masculine and feminine roles. They really kind of emphasized, I thought, in my opinion, in his culture. So I just kind of took it with a pinch of salt, right? And I found that over the years, I want more from him, and I feel like he's dropping less. And I'm actually here. This is like, some of you might think, what's the point? Like, I read a comment the other day saying, "I love you, Aaliyah, but there was no point to this podcast." And I thought, you know what? I respect that comment. I'm never angry if anyone comments, but I need you all to understand that this. I don't really have a point, most of the time. My point is my podcast, and let me explain that. My point is, I'm saying things that I just don't believe other people are so comfortable to say or so eager to say, or it's very few and far between the people that are talking. They're not talking about these things. So I don't want any of you to ever get to any of my podcast, at the end of any of my podcast, and be like, "Well, what was the point in that?" I just want you to almost feel like you're listening to me journal. I want you to feel like you're listening to me diary. And if it hits you in any kind of way, which I know it will to some people, hence the reason why I'm doing it, I know that it's going to allow someone else to be like, "You know what? It's not just me. It's not just me." Or it's going to spark a debate, and we're going to find out, because while no one's talking about it, none of us will ever know. But, right, we got older. We moved in together, and it was still hella chivalrous. We lived in quite a few apartments before we came here. So, excuse me. I found that, like, I used to live. He lived by himself. I lived by myself, and we would go back and forth, whatever. Then I actually moved into another place, and I was like, yeah, I'm happy for you to stay, kind of thing. I was genuinely just thinking cheaper rent, but he was just like very culturally, and absolutely not. No, I'm just thinking like cheeky little shit. I'm not even. I'm offering him a golden ticket here. Realistically, I was actually just wanting cheaper rent, but I made it feel like it was something more. I'll be honest. He knows that now. Anyway, we moved into our first place after we got married. And oh man, he used to wash up. He used to like. I used to wake up and he'd like already made my breakfast and my coffee on the table, and he'd be like, "Hi, good morning. How are you?" Da, 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 da. But when I'm like fucking 20 years old, right? Yeah, I appreciate it, but I don't appreciate it the same way I appreciate it when I'm a whole grown woman with a lot more responsibility. Like, don't get it twisted. I had jobs, and I'm a wife, but think about it. Our biggest responsibility was keeping our shoes clean and paying the bloody bills. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a big responsibility in when you think about it in comparison to now. So he was like that. And then, as I found, we moved around quite a few times. Nothing negative. Just that, like, when the lease was up, it was like, you'd stay here and pay more. You move somewhere else, and it was just coincidentally that they were always building new ones, and I always wanted to live in like a new build, and just somewhere that no one else had laid their head or had a poo in the toilet. I'll be honest. So I was like, "Let's go!" Like, and he was just sick of it. He was sick of moving around, but chivalrously. "Whatever you like, my dear, whatever you like." And I know some of you are going to be listening now, like, "You're ungrateful, you ungrateful bitch." I don't want him to be like, "Whatever you like," right? But I'm trying to give you some context, right? So we'd move around, but I slowly but surely started to find that as the marriage got longer, like, the longevity of our marriage, and the more place we lived, the less he did. Like, you're not even waking me up kindly anymore. And don't get me wrong, Farhan is such a laid back person, so I could literally check him on his behaviour and be like, "Nah, I don't like that. That's not cool. It's not making me feel appreciated." And he will act on that immediately, right? And I know I feel like some of you are going to listen to that, so why the fuck are you complaining? But I'm at a point right now, right, where I'm almost sick of having to tell you. Like, yeah, it's great that it happens every 2 years, but why are we doing this every 2 years? Why can't you just be on 10, man? Like, and I literally said to him the other day, like, I think he was like, "I don't have an issue," and I was like, "No, I think you've got a very large issue that you're unaware of." And he was like, "Well, what's the issue?" And I was like, Now, don't get me wrong, when I say this, it's a bit of bitterness coming out of me. He doesn't treat me like this at all. But I'm just kind of getting a bit like, I almost feel like my own sister's telling me her story, so I'm getting a bit pissed off on my own behalf at this point. So I'm like, I think you want the trophy, but you don't want to work for it. You want the trophy in the cupboard, but you're not willing to clean the trophy. You're not willing to take it to the shop to get polished. You ain't willing to run the race to get the trophy. And he just stood there like in shock. And I'm at this point now where I'm like, I don't know if it's a him problem because I think it's a society problem. I look around and there's so many married couples around where we live, and you can clearly see that they're just going with the flow. You can clearly see that. You can see that, and I don't want to go with the flow. But is that a me problem? Like, but anyway, I'm skipping a little bit now. So he drops a little bit. I check him on it. He gets better for about a year, 18 months, and I'll slowly start to see him falling back into like not expectation, but you're too damn comfortable, basically. Don't be so comfortable around me. When I say that, I don't mean like, don't be comfortable around me. Be yourself. But remember, right, you need to date me. I'm not trying to date you like this for 90 years. And I'm just like, oh. And you know what? We've hit a bit of a roadblock now because it's happened so many times. And it hasn't happened so many times, but 2 years over 10 years, he's talking 5 times now. So we've hit a roadblock. This roadblock. Since I had kids in 2020, I won't lie to you, when I had my first son in 2020, it was the worst place our marriage ever was because I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Because, oh God, I don't even know I'm crying. Because, again, the same thing. Far had fallen into his habits, and I just kind of got sick of not feeling a bit of spice in my marriage. You know what I mean? But when you've got a baby, it really changes your mindset. And the cute things, well, for me, anyway, for me, the cute things that I used to think of him and that he did was no longer cute almost immediately. Imagine being, for example, so drunk out your mind. If you're not drunk, you're hypnotized, right? And then someone just sobering you up like that, you're almost confused. That's what childbirth did to me because the cute things, quote unquote, that he used to do, i.e., not putting his shoes back in the cupboard, for example, like we have a little shoe cupboard. Is it better? I don't know, but not doing that before. I'd be like, "Far, I'm not you. Come on, like, woo." It was like that. Where second I had a baby, and I do believe something within me needs to calm down a bit. But at the moment in 2020, as well, I'm not going to justify it, but we're also fucking locked in the house together 24/7. I just couldn't cope. I couldn't even justify for him anymore why you're not putting your shoes away. And he just couldn't understand why it was getting me to a level of anger and pissed off that it was. But I just felt like, like, you know what it is? I don't know what it is, actually. You know what it is? I feel like I've watched so many people before me, and I watch them every day now, do things and treat their partners in a certain way where in the long run, if they could have a magic coin and say, if you could change that about your partner, would you? They would say yeah. So I'm like, well, why aren't we trying that? And like, I'm not trying to ask him to change, but why aren't you trying to put your best foot forward? But anyway, 2020 was just hell. I'll be honest. It was the worst time of our marriage ever. And this is why I'm so convinced that the religion and the culture will never hold any relevance to as to why my marriage would never work. It cannot be that because the way that 2020 made both of us feel, man. So I had my first baby and I was just getting more and more pissed off with him. Obviously, he's now been a father as well. So he's not really he's doing even less of the nice chivalry things for me than he would before. But we kicked that into gear. We got into gear, and middle of maybe like 8 months into 2020, we really stepped it up. Like we're talking date nights twice a week. We was really putting in everything to our marriage. Like I'm not joking. It was almost exhausting, but we had to do it, and I'm so glad we did it, alhamdulillah, because it really paid off. We did date nights every single day in our house, like making menus, getting out the fucking grill so we could like grill in the middle of the table oven and choose the oven. I know it sounds petty at the time, but when you're there and you're locked in and you can't do anything and no one's met your baby, it just holds so much pressure over you. So we did that 2020. That was all well and great. And actually, our marriage rocketed after that. And we were almost in shock. We were almost in shock that we'd been able to come back from what we thought was almost impossible. I remember us chatting and saying, we're not going to be able to do this. And one thing about me and Fawn, and this is why I finally pulled the plug and said, you know what, I'm going to talk about it, because I was a bit like, do I, don't I? We'll always be friends, even when I don't like him, even when he doesn't like me. We will always be friends. We will always have a special place in our hearts for each other, and not just because we're the parents of our boys, but I truly believe that we've helped each other through so many things that most people wouldn't be able to, you know. So we're not like them toxic people where, like, don't get me wrong, when I want to knock your head off and I don't want to be your wife anymore, cool, but I don't want to see you miserable. I don't want to see you without, without anything, So before we started to rock it in 2020, we really came to the terms of like, this is not going to work. We're just going to have to get another house and I'll move out, and that's what we accepted. I actually started proceeding to get a house. Like that's how far it had got at that point. Like we were so miserable, and all we were thinking was, let's not do this with a baby. Let's not be miserable with a baby. I think that's kind of accelerated it to be more like, let's just cut ties. You're his dad, I'm his mom. I love you as a friend, you love me as a friend, and let's just be great people. And we'd agreed that. But when we rocketed out of it, so we went into 2021, like being like, yes, bang, we're having a baby at the end of this year. We're going to conceive that, boom, boom, boom. Living our best freaking lives. He was so chivalrous, bringing me flowers every day. And I know some of you might be like, well, what were you doing for him? But you know what? I truly don't believe in like the man just doing stuff. I don't. I hate it when you see on the internet, especially Instagram, like, oh, he got me a ticket to France. What are you getting him? Like, and I know some people are like, well, I stay at home and look after my kids, but I don't think that's enough. And I know I'm going to get some backlash from saying that, because I watched a video the other day of this woman saying, like, get ready for the night with me as a mother of one. And she's cleaning the whole house and the man's sitting there on his phone and everybody's judging the man, but she's saying she's happy that he's sitting there because he works full time and she doesn't have to work. I disagree. I wouldn't tolerate that, but if that works for you, cool. It doesn't matter how much money he earns. It doesn't matter. I will never be a single parent. I'll never be a single homeowner while I'm living with you and while I'm in a marriage with you. I just won't accept that. And this is the difference between me and so many other women. I don't know why I won't accept that, but part of me doesn't want to change that. I'm like, nah, because I don't want to be that bitch. I would, if he sits on his phone for 2 minutes while I'm wiping the kitchen side, trust me, oops upside your head, you're going to get a clap to the back. And you won't let me just, let me reword that. Before people think there's like violence involved. He's not going to get a clap. But, I'm going to make it clear. I'm not a woman to stand there and just be like, anyone who's listening, I'm aggressively like wiping the sides in silence right now. I'm not one to do that. I can't do that. Can't do that. Yeah, I've learned there's a time and a place since I've had children. However, I'll never stay silent. And some of you might think, well, that's your fucking issue. And maybe it is. But I just don't think silence gets me anywhere. A closed mouth don't get fed, in my opinion. And I've only found that he does the shit that I kind of want from him or I'm missing from him when I tell him. So he's doing his thing. He's bringing me flowers, and like I said, I don't believe just the man needs to do it. So I'm also doing things for him. I feel like we have different levels of love language. However, I appreciate all the five different ones. So I'll never complain as to which one it is. However, he's doing things for me, I'm doing things for him. And like I said, he's buying me flowers, I'm buying him shit. I take him on a surprise trip. He takes me places. We go on dates. Just me. We're both putting water into each other's cup at this point. No one is missing out, right? We finally get to December, or well, November, like 19th, and we're like, now's the time. We're going to have this baby that we said we're going to have. Hence my second baby. So we conceived this second baby, um, which was slightly a surprise because the pregnancy test was saying no. But turns out I'm just one of them gals that don't have a high, is it HGV level or something like that? I don't have one of them, so it never tells me I'm pregnant on the test until I'm about fucking 4 months pregnant. Anyway, we're skipping a step. I'm thirsty from all this rattling on. But we get to 2021. We conceive our baby. We're pregnant. We're in love. And that's one thing about pregnancy, man. Like, You almost love. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe it's me. You almost love this person more than you ever feel like you could because you've set this goal. You know, like well, for us anyway. Like we planned our children down to the T, down to the month, down to everything. So when it happens and you're carrying this thing, this bundle, this person that you wanted, it just feels so special. And we were so conscious about the postpartum side of things this time. So Thor was great the first time anyway. He was so great with Jai, my oldest. Like he did all the night shifts and everything. He really wanted me to make sure I prioritised mental health when we went downhill. However, he was a great dad. But he was so much more aware of like me. So he was like going above and beyond. So not only is he like doing the night shifts again with the second baby, but he's like really forcing me to take time for myself because also like if I don't have time for myself, I can't be good for you. And I know you might be like, well, that's a you issue, but if I'm drowning in laundry and housework and you're not putting your fucking shoes away, when am I going to get the time for myself? Do you know what I mean? So he was so conscious this time. I was so conscious. And I'll be honest, our second baby was so much smoother. Like, it didn't impact our marriage. We were just happy, it didn't, I'm telling you. But again, I don't know if that's because we was no longer in a freaking lockdown. We wasn't banned from leaving the house. So we had our second baby in 2022, August, and we're all sweet, we're all fine. End of 2023 comes. Is it 2023? Yeah. End of 2023 comes, and I can already feel myself getting pissed off again. You know why? Because this time I've got two kids, right? And yet he's been a great dad. He's still a great dad, and he's looking after this baby. But when your baby kind of grows past that point, when you're out of that year thing and the maternity leave's over, it really is just like pull your fucking socks up, get back to it. So now I've returned to work. I've got two kids. I've got two kids in two different schools on two different schedules. I'm driving them both to these schools, picking them both up, feeding them both, showering them both, putting them in the bed, and that's just because Far leaves at 7, gets back at 7, so he's not there. Well, he wasn't. We've changed that now, so Far's there a lot more for the kids. And it wasn't his fault. He just started a new venture, I just want to give you all context. He'd started a new venture, so he did tell me like he's gonna have to put everything into this venture. So he did, and he put that in solidly for a year. And I'm guessing that was the year that we started, yeah, at the end of 2023, because I at first, it's different. When I'm on maternity leave, if I'm getting up at 7 with these kids to get them showered, dressed, one to school, one staying with me for the year, that's stressful. But then towards the end of the year, my maternity leave's running out. Both of them then go to separate schools. I've not even got time to brush my hair. You're not even smacking me on the bum anymore. I don't think it's about physicality because I'll be honest, and I know you might be like, most women would say that, but genuinely, Far always finds me more attractive when I look bummy as hell. I don't know if he's got a thing for crackheads. I don't know what it is, but he never finds me attractive when I'm like now I've got all this makeup on. He thinks I'm beautiful, of course, but I know when I'm doing something for him, and it's always when I look like a crackhead. So I'm drowning. I'll be honest, I'm drowning at this point because I'm picking one up, taking one there. The fucking drive is the opposite direction. So I'm just stressed, and then by the time I've done that, clean the house. I know you might be like, well, why did you clean the house? But I can't live in a dirty place. I can't live in a messy place. When you open TikTok and you see these people say, let's clean with me, and literally the house looks like it's been shook upside down. And I get lots of it is because of mental health. But for me, my mental health would be upside down if I had to live in that. If I see anymore, I don't mind untidiness, but when it gets past a certain point, I can't deal with it. And this is another reason why I started to hold resentment towards him. Because if you know, right, leaving your fucking shit on the floor is stressing me out. Why are you doing it? Like, why are you? I'm taking it as a disrespect at this point. If I've told you 100 times over fucking 10 years, yo, like, come on, like, what do you ask for? But anyway, it's 2024 now, and something triggered me towards the end of the back end of last year because, like I said, I see so many people do it. Everyone can deny it all they like, but I fully believe that, like, your mom, your mom's mom, and all the rest of it, they're just like, oh, it's a bloody nightmare. They always say that about their husband, don't they? Oh, he's a bloody nightmare. Oh, he never listens. But deep down, they're like really pissed off. Well, anyway, my grandma used to always be like, She used to shout at my granddad. She used to tell, "Have you done that? Have you done this?" And he was just being a quote unquote typical guy. No, I haven't done it now. I haven't done it those 100 times you asked me, but I'll do it now. You're asking me, kind of thing. And she used to always joke it off. And I swear to you, you know, like a butter advert in the 1960s. She was like that, but like a black woman in my eyes. I used to watch them interact and think, fuck me, Aaliyah, you need to calm down. Look how beautifully feminine this lady is. Like, I remember once I was speaking to my granddad, and he was so polite with her anyway, but I remember we were having a full-blown laugh, and like, you know, you put some Jamaicans in the same room, you can't hear anything because we're just chuckling so hard. And she's always cooking in the kitchen, and she's shouting from the kitchen, "Oh, did you do this?" And no one can hear her because we're just laughing so hard. And she shouts it like 100 times, and then she comes in with a fucking dishcloth over her shoulder. I don't know why I'm giving you all the detail, but she goes, "Are you ignoring me?" And then like she just kind of giggled it off, and then she asked him again. And I remember thinking, what a fucking woman. What a woman. What a woman, because I would have been so pissed off at that point. Like, anyway, I thought maybe I'm just asking too much. And my grandma always tells me, you've got an issue, especially when my granddad was alive. She used to always say, you need to calm down with that man of yours. You need to give him a break. Da, 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 da. But then my granddad passed away. And when he passed away, I kind of saw myself in my grandma. Like, she was so forgiving. She was so understanding. She's very old school. So she believes the woman should be feminine. She believes that we shouldn't really challenge our men if we don't really need to. So she used to always try and promote that to me. And I used to just think she's crazy, but whatever. I kind of admired it, but I just knew that I just physically couldn't, or I wasn't mentally there yet. Maybe I wasn't maturing if I don't know what it was, but I always just thought that could never be me. But when he passed away, I kind of saw myself in her. I saw that actually she used to. She came to my house to stay here because obviously she's gone from being with a spouse of 50, 60 years to an empty home, right? So me and Fa was really trying to be there for her, and we let her come and stay and, you know, just hang out, take her fucking food shopping. She loves to cook, so we just took her to like the World Superstore, whatever, buy some food. And I remember every time that Far would do something for me, I could almost see her own heart aching for herself. I could almost see that, like, the last time that happened for her was decades ago. And I'm not just talking fucking pulling back your side of the fucking duvet when you go to bed. Like, really, that the things that really keep your marriage alive. I truly believe that in order to keep a spicy marriage, you need to still flirt, you need to still date, you need to still keep, you know, on each other's toes. Me and Bob have never been like jealous or insecure or anything. We've never been worried about that. But what I do want to say is, I want you to worry. I say it to Fahar all the time. You should worry when I'm going in that supermarket and you're sitting in the car. I don't want you to sit on that car on YouTube and just be like, you know, fucking not thinking of anything because you're too busy watching Joe Rogan. I want you to think, wait a fucking minute. My wife's chosen to go in there. Fine. Who the fuck is in there? Because she's as delicious as any. You know what I mean? Like, she's delicious, and anyone with a right mind would want to chase after this woman. So let me stay on my. You know, like when you date someone and you kind of like, you know, you kind of like. For example, this is the best analogy I can give you. When you date someone, it's like taking £100 of your pounds in £10 notes and laying it flat in the middle of the floor, right? Do you put it in the pavement and wait for someone else to grab it? Or if you've got to leave it out there, do you try and cover it with something like a leaf? Right? You're trying to protect this thing because you know that actually this thing that I want and that I'm you know, obsessed with or, you know, in love with or got this infatuation with, many other people could feel the same way and would feel the same way. So you kind of try and protect it. And what I'm trying to say is, as marriage goes along, I find that that just kind of fades out, especially for the man in my situation, because I feel like, you know, he knows I would never, I'm not a cheat. I can't be asked. Even if I wanted to cheat, I couldn't be asked. So he never worries about me cheating. Fine, don't want you to worry about that. You don't worry about me never coming home because I'm just not that kind of gal. You don't worry about the kind of parent or mother I am to the boys because he knows that I'm doing my damn best every single day. So I feel like he's just like, ah, hello, sit down. No, like, get it together. Like, but is it me? I don't know. I really don't know. And just having this conversation, I'm just like, should I say these things to him? But I'm like, Lee, you've said these things to him. So right now, we're kind of ahead, me and Far. We're kind of like, he's sick of me saying it, and I get it, because I'd be sick of myself saying it if I was on the receiving end. But I'm sick of having to tell him. And I know you might think, why the fuck are you talking about your relationship on here? But where else do you talk about this? Who else do you talk to that's unbiased? And so many of you love us, and like it's so lovely. But I'm just like, fuck, man. Like, if it wasn't for you guys, sometimes I'd chop that man's head off because he pisses me off so much, and I'm sure I piss him off. Oh, this is another thing that pisses me off about him. And we're going off track a bit now, but as soon as I say to him in this sort of chivalry kind of, complacency conversation, I always say, well, you don't do that anymore. Why? What's led you to believe that I wouldn't want that anymore? What's led you to believe that that wouldn't have an impact on me in not doing that anymore? And sometimes that man does not think, and you know what he does? He matches me and he'll say, well, sometimes you don't even piss me off. If I pissed you off so much, right? You would tell me, don't just bring it up because I'm bringing an issue to you. Do you know what I mean? And I truly believe we're going to get over it. I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe we're going to get over it. But I want to get over it in a more of a progressive way. I don't want to do this again in 2026 because I'm exhausted and he's exhausting me and I'm exhausting him. And I don't know why, because we're using so much energy on this one thing that we could just save our time with. But here we fucking are. But I know that so many of us just fall into this horrible trap, and I'm calling it horrible. You guys might be in the trap and might be happy with it, but I don't believe lots of you are, because when we used to go live all the time, we used to get so many couples like, how do you keep that alive? And I used to always be honest with you and say, I tell him, when he's pissing me off, I tell him. Like, some of them will be like, my husband's so fucking lazy. I don't think he's lazy, but some of them will be like, my husband's so fucking lazy. He doesn't look after his kids properly. He doesn't look after me. Da, da, da. And that saddens me so much that you feel like that's what's happening to you, and you don't feel confident or comfortable enough to say it, especially to the person you're choosing. Do you know what I mean? So we're lucky in that aspect, because we do say our blatant honesty to each other, and we just pray that we find a way out of it, But we've hit that roadblock again, and frankly, I'm fucking sick of the roadblock. I'm sick of it, and I'm sick of having to remind him that I am precious cargo too. And when I say I'm precious cargo, and he always calls me precious cargo, which pisses me off, because he calls me precious cargo when I get in the car. He always says, you drive carefully, you're my precious cargo. That's great. I'm fucking precious cargo in the house as well, mate. You better treat me like precious cargo when I'm in the middle of the Aldi, pushing a trolley, and these kids are swinging from my fucking nipples. Treat me like I'm precious. Oh my God. Just don't. But again, is it a societal thing? I don't know. Is this a me issue or is it a Farhan issue? I don't know. I would love for you guys to tell me your opinion on it. And you know what? We're just people. We're just like you guys. We're just trying to figure our way through it. And we're about to hit 10 fucking years married. I shouldn't say 10 fucking years, because it's not 10 fucking years. We're about to hit 10 years married. That is such a long time. And that's mad. Like, 10 years. So I truly believe that we've got way more pros than cons about us as individuals and as a married couple. But that doesn't mean that, I always say to him, and I'll say it to finish this pod off, to be honest, just because we're good doesn't mean we can't be greater. Because far as I thought we were good. We are good. I love you. You love me. Great. Maybe that's like, I don't, now I'm saying that and I'm listening to myself. I'm like, girl, stop. I don't know what it is. Is it me? I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl. I don't know. I don't know. And I feel like he's going to listen to this and be like, what the fuck? I don't know what he's going to say. But you let me know what you think. I'm like racking my brain now. So like, have I missed anything? Should I have said anything more? Should I have said anything less? But I've said it now. So let me know what you think. Like I say, every single ep, if you want to DM me and keep it anonymous, we'll keep it anonymous. DM me. Let's talk about it. Let's normalize it, because in order to help myself, we have to help each other. And that's just that. And if you are new here and you haven't yet reviewed my pod, please give me 5 stars. If it's not 5 stars, save it for when you feel like it is. And make sure you follow my pod if you're listening on Spotify or any of the podcast channels. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. There's so many listeners and watchers that aren't subscribed and you're not liking it. And at the end of the day, right, see it this way, you're only going to put fruits into the label that gives you the fruit back. If you're not getting no fruit back, you're not going to continue it. And then you're all going to DM me and be like, what happened to your pod? And I'm going to be like, well, I sacked it off because none of you gave a shit. And now you give a shit that I've sacked it off. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, that's my Wednesday chat. I hope it helped some of you. Or if it didn't help you, it will have confused you. Or you will have definitely had an opinion on it. And I will see you next Wednesday for the next episode. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the drama. Oh.